Hello, welcome to my latest video. It's the longer version of me painting South Norwood Country Park in oils. If you don't need to or not interested in how I painted it and all the little tricks and techniques, there is a shorter time-lapse only version already posted on the channel, so I'll put a link underneath and in the description, and you can stop this one and go there instead. But if you want to stay with me and see exactly how I painted this, that'll be much appreciated, and any views I can get I really am grateful for. Now, I've got a question if anyone can help. I'm considering applying for membership to the International Guild of Realism. It looks very good on their website. I'll post a link in the description. First of all, will I get in? Because there is a selection process, who knows. But if I do, it's quite expensive and money's a bit tight at the moment, so I don't know. Should I go for it? I'd love to hear your thoughts. But in the meantime, if you haven't subscribed or liked or hit the notification bell, it would be greatly appreciated if you could do that for me. Thank you and enjoy the video. The only thing I'm going to draw before I start painting is the horizon. I'm only doing this because I want to be absolutely certain it's level. A sloping horizon is about the worst thing you can have. On this painting I'm going to go straight in with the oils. Normally I'd block in a crude version of the whole painting before I get to this stage, but as this painting has so many branches all over it, I didn't feel it necessary. So I've picked out a number of the main colours I found in the sky from the reference photograph, and I'm just roughly placing them in position. The idea here is to keep layering the paint on top of the other, gradually refining the shapes of the clouds and blending them together until I reach a point where I'm happy. Each layer will be a little bit more detailed and a little less blended, picking out the sharper edges you find in various positions on the clouds. But basically just keep looking at the reference photograph, accurately mixing the colours you see there and just placing them in the painting, blending where necessary with another paintbrush that hasn't got any paint on it so it doesn't contaminate the colours that are there, and keep on going layer after layer. I'm now starting to hone in on the finer detail of the clouds, picking out where the sun makes little highlight edges around the shapes of the clouds. This guy's a lot more complicated and detailed than the ones I normally paint, so it's been many layers. I've actually completely forgotten how many I've done so far, but I will keep going and do as many as I think necessary. And here on this layer I've mixed quite a lot of liquid in with the oil paint to make it very transparent, so I'm not obliterating all the details I've got underneath already. Sky finished, so now I am going to block in the rest of the painting just to get a sort of grey brown colour to the background of all the foreground shrubs, trees, grasses and what have you. The light levels are low in this painting, so the foreground grass is quite dark. I've now waited until the sky has completely dried, which is about 4 or 5 hours with the Winsor & Newton Griffin fast drying oils, and I'm painting in the far distant tree line. This is just going to be a silhouette. There's one larger tree in the middle which might get 2 tones, but basically I'm using very thin down paint, thinned with white spirits, and just simply drawing in the shapes. I've now mixed a lighter colour, and using my Rosemary's Tree and Texture brush, I'm putting in a line of bushes and shrubs that are a little bit closer to us than the far tree line, and just catching the light a little bit. In this centre section that's between the 2 big trees, there's multiple layers of long grasses, reeds, not sure entirely what they are, probably reeds because it's a very wet area. But as they get closer to the viewer, they get lighter and more yellow, sort of pinky yellow, as it catches more of the sun. The far bush line is probably in a bit of a shadow because of the tree line, but the ones closer to the viewer just catch the light. So I'm using my Rosemary Tree and Texture brush again in a sort of downward stabby motion to try and simulate the blades of the reeds or long grasses. I will then go over it again with a fine brush to pick out individual blades here and there.
Before I move on to the big trees, I'm just fixing up the shape of the water. I didn't have it far enough to the right, and when I get into the thousands of branches going over the whole sky, fixing anything that's between the branches would be very difficult, so just going to make sure I've got everything just right and finished before moving on to the big trees. Right, I've made sure everything that appears behind the main tree trunk and branches is completely finished, as when I put the trees in, fixing anything behind it is going to be quite painful. Not impossible, but I'd rather not have to do it. Now these large trees are basically silhouettes, but there is going to be just a little bit of texture, just a hint that there's a bark there and things going on, and a few branches in front of the trunks, so they're not cut out. It's quite a scary moment covering up everything you've done so far, but the background is totally dry and the wet paint can be wiped off to a certain degree. Can leave a little tiny bit of a stain, so I'd rather not do it again, but here we go. The trunks and the main branches are in, so now I'm making a start on the hundreds if not thousands of little tiny branches. What's important here is to not paint the branches how you think trees work, but really study the reference photograph and try your best to match the shapes of these branches, because they're quite bent with little quite sharp edges here and there. Every species of tree has its own kind of branch pattern. I've no idea what these trees are, but I'm constantly looking at the reference photograph and trying my best to match the shapes. And what's going to help with the realism here is also putting enough branches in, because there really is a huge number. I'm not going to put quite as many as the reference photograph, but I'll get close. main tree branches done, so that was a bit of a relief. And now there's a large number of sticks and grasses and general debris that goes across the sort of little pond. So it's pretty much the same as the branches, just paint them over what you've done already. I'll start with the darker silhouetted bits and then go over it again with the odd one that's just catching the sun, so they're much lighter. There's a lot of foreground grass that's catching the light, so I can paint little highlights on those, but to prepare for that I'm going to give the whole area a texture that gives you the impression there's a lot going on, and for that I'm going to use the tree and texture brush again and just dab a darker colour all over the area just to give it that sort of mottled dirt texture. I'm now going in with a lighter colour and picking out the longer grasses. The grass in the foreground is very clumpy, so now with a lighter colour still, I'm concentrating on those clumps to bring them out. Most of the grass and odd bits of sticks in this foreground are very brown with a little bit of warmth of the light catching them, but there is, in the reference photograph, the start of some fresh grass, and it gives a much needed little bit of colour over this area. The final stage is to look over the whole painting and see if there's anything you missed, any little areas that need enhancing. But once you've done those, it's all finished. For those that managed to watch the whole video, I can't thank you enough. In the world of YouTube, watch time is everything. And if you've got the time, please check out the links in the description where you'll find my website, Instagram. Instagram will show you what I'm working on currently, gives you a little clue as to what the next video is. But if you haven't subscribed already or liked the video, I would really appreciate it if you could. It is so helpful to the success of the channel. Thank you very much. Hope to see you on the next video. Goodbye.